in touch with your inner pelican, or if what causes you to hop about and get on your inner. At the end of the day, we just want you. Because if you're not, then you can't. And if you don't, then you can't. And God is expected us to. So we're going to need to figure out how to be so we can, and from time to time, so we have the energy to, on the count of, is expecting us to do it. I'm just saying. And again, for any of you that are nervous at this point, these are just suggestions. So, this reflection business. Who is it that we're trying to? And who is it that we're trying to? And who's supposed to be involved in the? Who else aside from me is gonna put something on it? These are very important questions, and I want to give you some answers. Now I'm going to go through quickly, and so if I move too fast, I just want you to put your hands up like this, which is the universal sign for slow down. Which I'm a fan of. All right? Now, how many of you, like me, were born before 1980? Most of the hands went up. Now, those of us who were born before 1980, when we are learning something, we like to learn our things by way of stimuli that comes to us one thing at a time. We're really very good if you give it to us one thing at a time. You can give us 5 million things as long as you give it to us one thing at a time. If you start trying to give it to us in multiple versions of stimuli, we think it's chaotic and you're a little crazy. We use technology to support the relationships we already have. Okay? So I'm going to pick up the telephone and call somebody I know. As opposed to picking it up and just calling random numbers to see who's over there. I'm a fan of 5, 6, 7. I just pushed it in to see what would happen. What are you doing today? I'm going to church. You want to come? It's not really how we operate pre-1980. We use technology to support existing relationships. We already know you will use some gadget or another to keep in contact with you. We use technology to support existing relationships. When we were growing up, we had limited exposure to significant difference that was shown to us through media. Okay? So when we turned on the TV, when we opened a magazine, most of the faces looked exactly the same. And if there was a television show with a person of color, there was one television show per year. So there was a run of Good Times, and then that went off. Then we got the Jeffersons, and then that was gone. You know, we're just moving our way one at a time. Got to the 80s, we got to the Cosby Show, we celebrated. Good time with the Cosbys. But we just had the one thing at a time, and the vast majority of our magazines did not have a lot of difference in it. There weren't a lot of different people. There weren't people from different ethnic or racial groups. There weren't people from different religious backgrounds. There weren't people of differing social or, sexual orientation. So we didn't have these kinds of things coming at us all of the time, okay? That just wasn't our experience growing up. And then finally, for most of us, church was sort of the center of civic life, okay? And whether you were having an amazing and wonderful relationship with God or not, you were primarily engaged in the church because that's where everybody else was. Right? It was a great place to go and make some business transactions. Where you met people. So there was social capital and acceptance in being in church. People expected you to be in church. They expected you to send your kids to church. That's for all of us who were born before 1980. Give me a wave if you were born before 1980. Here we go. And back. You see why I had to take shoes off? See? those of you who are a little nervous now, when there are fewer of you, you have to make more noise to be heard. That's all that is, you know. It's only 2 or 3 of you. You can't go half-hearted. Nobody will know you're there. After 1980, like there's nobody here. Nobody here. Good job. If you were born after 1980, you like to receive your stimuli multiple things at a time. Okay? So when you were studying, when you were working at home, you were tweeting a friend, you were listening to something on your iPod, and you were studying and searching things on the web at the same time. Okay? All those things are happening for you at once. As a matter of fact, you can have 3 different text conversations at the same time. And not lose track of who you said to what, and the thing and the man with the shoe. You can do that while maintaining the same ability to completely ignore your parents. It's not hampered. The texting does not get in the way with our being ignored. I know this from my own daughter. It doesn't stop it at all. Okay? You use technology to form relationships. So when you go on Facebook, if somebody's a friend of your friend, then you probably have some things in common. So when you reach out to that person and ask them to be a friend, it's not based on nothingness, but you recognize this is an opportunity for me to get to know somebody new. So you use technology to form new relationships, You like to receive your information, multiple things at a time, and you use technology to form new relationships. You have been exposed to a significant amount of difference in the meeting. Hey now! Somebody before you, so we could have more than one brown person on TV at a time. I, for one, am grateful. Just saying. Appreciate it. You did not grow up in a world where church is at the center. You have 4,725 other ways to do 90% of the stuff we do at church. Hear me now, especially those of you born pre-1980. They have more ways to do 90% of what we currently do than the church. And the other places that do it better than we do. So when I was growing up, if I wanted to go on a tour of African American colleges and universities, the church was the best place for me to get that executed. My daughter doesn't even want to go to a historically black college or university. She doesn't see the point. And she's got 20 other places that she can go and do that. That will be a lot easier for her than trying to navigate the infrastructure that is the church. So when we're reflecting on this connection, it's important for us to reflect with an awareness of these significant differences that exist in the church. It's why we're at this crossroads. Because those of us who like to receive things think it's crazy for the rest of you to like it. And those of us who use technology can't understand how you can use technology And those of us who grew up in a world where we didn't see difference everywhere all the time can't understand why you need to have a conversation about being open and affirming, about safe practices, about being sacred conversations on race, about differing abilities. We don't understand why you need to talk about that at 12. We don't understand because we didn't have to talk about that until we were 25. We struggle to find a place Because we grew up in a world where nothing else happened on Sunday morning but church. And you grow up in a world where everything happens on Sunday morning but church. And so when we talk about membership, we don't know how to count you, where to count you, or how to see you or find you, because we're looking for you Sunday morning and you're somewhere else. And we think that means you don't care. And you're saying back to us, it's not that I don't care, it's just the way I show it looks different because we are different. So how do we connect? When you build a worship service that expects everything to happen, one thing at a time. You got that one person you're going to put behind the box and they going to talk. Then they sit down and somebody else comes up and stands behind the other box and they talk. Then you get a whole group of people to stand up and sing and they sound like. And then if I pull out something so I can be doing two things at a time called texting, you turn around and shoot me the eye. When I come to the church meeting, that other lady's able to knit in the back, but I can't text. I'm just saying. Knitting, texting, what's the difference? Just asking. These are simply, do what you want with them. So when we're trying to figure out how to connect, we have to connect with an awareness of the people we're trying to. Because each of us, no matter where we are on this divide in the 1980s, still have the same job, and that is to. But we've got to be able to accept and acknowledge these real differences between us. And not see them as value judgments, but simply a part of what makes us uniquely magnificent in the eyesight of God. It's what makes you a grasshopper, and you a pelican, and you a pelahopper, and the badgers wherever we can find them. And all of us, no matter what we use to identify, are still expected by God to these two. All of us have still got the same job of, which means we gotta, but you might need to do in a different way. Because we're not the same, and that's okay. We don't have to be the same in order to be connected. So where are we trying to go? We're trying to get to the place where we are taking seriously our role to discern those gifts. To discern what our gifts are. I said before that young people have thousands of other ways to do 90% of the work we do in church. And those thousands of other ways are doing it better. You know the 10% that we do that other folks don't do? Discernment. The ability to sit still long enough to hear and feel and understand the will of God, the call of God on our lives to transform the world. It's nobody else's job to do that. It's nobody else's job to do that. Let's move through these quickly, John. It's nobody else's job to do that. And how you discern your gift may come through joy. It may come through pain. The point is that you discern the gift. For some of us, it comes through joy. We can tell you why we said yes to the United Church of Christ. For others of us, we can tell you why we said no to some other church. But whether it comes through joy or pain, our task as the church is to discern our gifts and how we can use them to transform the world. I said before that all of us has this gift that came from God, and we've been given this gift to transform the world. The gifts are connected. They're connected to the needs of the world. And the task of the church that is uniquely ours is to help people discern those gifts and to see the needs in the world. The vast difference between the world, the way it currently operates, and the world that God envisioned when God made each of us magnificently.